I want to talk today on the show about golf. And I feel like I have a very strange relationship with golf because I'm about 50 years old. And I feel like this is the moment in my life when I'm supposed to start loving golf, like embracing it and really getting into it. And instead, I've been on this opposite trajectory. I loved golf when I was a little kid. It was what bonded me to my grandfather. He lived on a golf course in Florida. It was the thing we did together. I mean, I remember every aspect of it. Like he would carry this little Tupperware container of grapes, and I was allowed to have one grape after every putting green, and then we move on to the next hole. Couldn't be two grapes. He brought 18 grapes for me and 18 for him. And it was just what bonded us, and I had a pretty decent swing apparently as a kid, but then I lost both my grandfather, and then I lost my swing, and I started hating golf, and friends would take me out on a course, I just never could get into it, and so I'm wondering if there is someone in the world who might be able to get me into golf, and, we're gonna speak to a guest today who you know him for many other reasons through the years, but in addition to all of his television presence and being such a part of the fabric of our entertainment and news culture in the United States of America, he is an obsessive golfer. And so we're going to be back in just a moment with the one and only Maury Povich. All right, we are back with David Green is Obsessed, and I am with Maury Povich, who I'm sure many of you know through the years. I mean, a pillar in our entertainment world, hosted the Maury Povich Show, and then Maury up until 2022, talk show host, journalist, also owner of a small newspaper, which I hope to get into. But also has a new podcast called On Par with Maury Povich, and he is an avid golfer, and we're going to start the conversation with golf. Maury, it is an honor to have you. Thank you for
Well,
coming
David,
on
it's
our show.
nice to be with you, and it's a great story about your grandfather. It's
Yeah?
you know, the I think more than anything else, the memories, that you have with golf when it comes to relatives are
Hmm.
just so, ingrained in you. You just never lose them. I remember my father's name is Shirley Povich, and my father started as a young caddy in Bar Harbor, Maine, where he grew up. He was a townie, and he grew up there, and he was to make money. I think he was saying he would make a quarter to carry somebody's bag. And this course called Kibo Valley was built by millionaires, the Rockefellers, the Vanderbilts, all the people who summered on Mount Desert Island in Maine.
Yeah.
And so he was thrown together with this man, and this man liked my father's caddying so much at the age of 15 that he sent his carriage. I mean, this is 1917, no, 1918 or 1919, to no cars on Mount Desert Island. Carriage picked my father up every day in the summer, caddy for this guy. This guy went to my grandmother, said he wanted to take my father to Washington, D.C. He owns his own golf course at his house, and he will give my father a job at this place he owned. It was called the Washington Post. And
Wow.
my father was the sports columnist for the Washington Post
But it
for
was golf who got him to Washington.
75 years. Yes, as a caddy. He gets to Edward B. McLean was the man's name. My father had never been off the island. He gets to Washington, he gets to the house. Edward B. McLean says, "Shirley, I'm so glad you're here. We're all set to play. I want to introduce you, Mr. President Warren G. Harding. I want you to introduce you to Shirley Povich, the greatest caddy in America."
Are you serious? This is crazy. So wait,
And
your
that's
dad
and
just starts caddying, gets
right,
picked up in a horse and carriage, and then
right,
ends up getting a
the
move
job,
to
right,
Washington that
to
gets him meeting the
Washington.
president of the
He's
United States. And
and starts in the Washington Post at the age of 17, and he's the sports editor by the time he's 21.
this is crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
I obviously can't remember every single one of your shows through the years, but did you ever talk about golf as being the basis of your roots in Washington,
No,
of your
no,
love
no. I
of
mean, no,
journalism?
and the most amazing thing about it is I have this affinity no matter where I play. I have this affinity for caddies.
I'm sure.
I mean, if it wasn't for my father being a caddy, I wouldn't be who I am.
That's amazing. So did you golf with your dad?
Yeah, it's interesting. My father was, he loved golf and he loved to cover golf. His favorite sports to cover were baseball, boxing, golf, and horse racing
Mhm.
because he felt that there was a great intimacy in those sports. And he always used to say he covered football, of course, but he says these people wear helmets. You just can't get through to them. You know, you can't see
Love that.
everything.
Yeah.
And so he wasn't a good golfer, but he loved the game. And he told me one time, he said, when we started out, we would carry the club down the fairway with us, and we were going like this all the time. And I said, "Well, why are you doing that then?" Well, it was this new grip. It was
Mm.
called the Varden grip, which is now the grip of every great any golfer now. That's the grip you have. And in 1917 or 18, they were just learning this grip.
How did people grip golf clubs before the Varden
There
grip
was an
era? The
old
Varden grip
Scottish
era?
it was an old Scottish thing where it was in the thumbs and it was, like, kinda backwards and stuff, and
Oh,
it was
weird.
crazy. Yeah,
That's
and,
weird.
I have pictures. Yeah, golf is, phew, it's a big part of my life. What can I
Yeah, I
tell
mean,
you?
part of your history, but do you love
Yeah,
it? I mean, do you love
I love
golfing
it.
and being on the
Yeah,
course, and what do you love
it's
about it?
it's interesting about how it started with me. I really never played as a kid. I was the classic you grow up in the 1940s and 50s and you go to school, what do you play? You play baseball, basketball, and football. That's what you played because that's all there was.
Yeah,
And
unless you're not
so
really an athlete like me and you don't do any of that, but I mean, in theory, if
I
you've
mean,
got
that
some
was it. I mean,
skills, yeah.
there was no golf, there was no tennis, there
Right.
none of that stuff. So I didn't play, and then when I was in my late 20s, my father comes to me and says, "Now look, son, I belong to this club, and if you want to join the club, you've got to join before you're 30, uh, if you join after 30, it's $5,000. You don't have that money. I don't have that money. But if
Mm,
you join now, it costs $1,000." So I
makes
joined
sense.
this club and I grew up in Washington, DC. I went down this beautiful driveway for maybe a half a mile. And at the time I was doing a talk show, I was anchoring the weekend news, I was doing the weekday sports, I was just totally enmeshed in my career. And all of a sudden, before I ever picked up a club, all the stuff, all the bullshit that I was thinking about that day just evaporated.
Hmm.
And I went, "I've never felt like this, and I haven't touched a club." So
So the culture
I
was
s
already kind of giving you this escape.
yeah, it was because I had never really had an so-called avocation or hobby. I was working since I was 16 in this silly business, and so, it just everything just lifted. I mean, it was just a whole new world, and I started out, because of I played sports, I was probably a 15, 16 handicap, and then on my own, I got down to, about a 5 or 6 handicap, won the club championships a few times there, but what turned it around, and this is reference to you, it was the age of 50. That's
Okay.
when everything changed for me in golf because my wife, the beloved Connie Chung,
Yep.
hires for my 50th birthday. She does all this research and hires this golf coach, which I never had a teacher, named Peter Costas, the great commentator for then CBS during all the CBS golf tournaments, the Masters, and everything. And so we had a home in New Jersey at that time. And so he came to New Jersey. My wife says, "This is the golf god. I'm giving you the golf god." And now, 36 years later, she considers himself the golf devil because I've chased him around the country and the world for the last 36 years.
She didn't
But he
expect it
cha
to get this intense. She thought she was
No,
just giving you
and
like a
yeah,
nice hobby and
yeah,
pastime.
and so, and then I won the club championships in Washington and then in New Jersey where
Yeah, you're really
we had
good.
a weekend home, and then he said to me, "You know, you can play competitively nationally." I said, "No, no, no." So he and his buddy named Gary McCord, another CBS commentator, we played a lot of golf together. And so at the age of 60, I qualified for the United States Senior Amateur. I made match play in the United States Senior Amateur, and I played in three British Senior Amateurs. And I've played a lot of competitive golf nationally. And that's my story.
But what do you, Mari? What do you love about it? Like, I'm really struck by what you talked about, like getting to that
If
club and
you
not even
think,
picking up
yeah,
clubs. It takes you to a place. Like, what is it
yeah,
about golf that baseball, basketball, soccer
right.
don't do?
I'll tell you, in 18 holes, in that period of time, in that 4 hours, every facet of my personality comes out.
Hmm.
It's amazing. All the pleasure that I have, all the demons that I carry. I mean, everything comes out in a game of golf. And I always say, if I want to meet somebody, I'll bring them on the golf course. And I can tell you after 18 holes whether I want to be with that guy again.
And it's not based on
Be-
their handicap. It's based on the
no, no,
relationship.
it's based on how they comport themselves, what they think of themselves, how they treat the game.
Hmm.
Uh, I've been around some pretty big people who don't treat the game the way it should be. I mean, this is the most genteel, mannered, truthful game there is. And if you abuse it, uh, basically, you don't want to be with that person anymore.
What does abuse look like?
Cheating. If you cheat,
Oh, if you cheat. Okay, so it's not throwing your club if you hit a bad shot.
well,
It's the cheating.
that's a comportment is part of it. I
Okay.
mean, if a guy throws a club, fine. If he throws a club twice, I don't want to play with him again. But
One you get
if you
one you
cheat,
get one time. You
but
get one.
if you cheat and then put down a score, that's the ultimate. That's that that that's the ultimate crime in
Hmm.
golf.
I'm not gonna ask you to name names, but is there a wild cheating story that caused you to never wanna golf with someone again?
Well, what is remarkable to me that over the years there have been a few players in the golf world, not outside of the golf world, but very, very good golfers who've been cheating, who've been known to cheat.
Like, I've
And
watched them on TV, like, on the PGA Tour and
oh yeah,
okay,
I mean, I don't know currently, but over the years, absolutely,
and that bothers you.
to no end. And then, I mean, it's public knowledge. I mean, Bill Clinton used to hit two or three balls on a hole and then put in a score. You don't do that.
That doesn't feel right.
And we feel with the current president, we see things being moved and things for him.
Yeah, you see some pretty
Eh,
suspicious shit going on.
right.
It's
And so, that's not kosher. I mean, you just don't do that. And yet I've been with one of the former presidents, George W. Bush. George W. Bush and I and 10 other people played golf every year after the Labor Day weekend in California for maybe 20 years.
mm,
And so President Bush and I became very friendly. He's a terrific person to be around playing golf. He's honest, he's truthful, he plays fast, he wants to be very competitive. And I mean, he's a delight. And then, contrary to that, the current president, I've been around and it's not fun.
it's different. Yeah, I covered all 8 years of George W. Bush's presidency, so I got to see
I
some of
mean,
that up close,
if
obviously, as
you
a
covered
journalist,
him,
but yeah.
you understand. I mean, he he was a he always had nicknames for everybody.
Oh,
So
yeah.
he called me Poe. I was Poe all of
I
his
was
life.
ocho, 8 in
Oh,
Spanish because I was
oh,
at
is that
the,
right?
Well, I was covering the first thing I covered when I started, in the White House press corps was his visit to Mexico when he for beginning of first term, and I was
Right.
so enamored by the experience of being a White House correspondent. I got
Sure.
lost on President Vicente Fox's ranch, and so they're counting the press corps to bring us into the joint press conference. They counted up to 7, they get to 8, they're like, "Where the hell is the Baltimore Sun guy?" So I was forevermore known as Ocho, which is, you know, not what you're going for in the nickname, but you don't get a
Yeah.
choice. What was your nickname?
Wow. My nickname was Poe. My
Nice.
like, a lot of people call me Mopo, but he called me Poe. And I'll tell you, every single year of his presidency, he invited me and another part of our group, another guy, great man named John Angelo, who unfortunately passed away. Every single year, he invited us to lunch at the White House,
That's great.
the 2 of us. I mean, to the point where coming down to the end, all of a sudden he calls, he says, "Well, where are you guys? Where are you?" And I said, "Well, we didn't get a call. You said get on down here. Get on down here. Not only that, this time bring the wives." And the 12 guys at one time, we had a dinner at the White House with him. We were smoking cigars in the Truman balcony. I mean, we were it was just he was one time, I'm going there for lunch. He says, "Poe," he says, "I can't run anymore. My knees are no good. I'm on the treadmill. I'm flipping around. How do you do that show with a straight face?" And I looked at him and I said, "Well, Mr. President, think about all the things you have to do every day with a straight face."
That's a very good point.
He said, "Touche."
Yeah. He was, I mean, now that we're getting away from golf and a into George W. Bush, nostalgia, it's, I will say I covered him one day when he was, I just come back to work. My mom had passed away suddenly. I actually found out about it after landing on Air Force One, after a trip to New Orleans after Katrina, but took a few weeks off. He was doing an event about immigration on the Mexico border, and in total George W. Bush style, he got really excited about the border patrol dune buggies, and he wanted to ride one.
Oh,
So
wow.
he's
I'm
riding
sure.
around the desert. Of course, they bring all the cameras. We're forced to stand there in the blistering heat to cover his ride on a dune buggy. And I write this little radio piece when I was at NPR about what a goof he was that day and, total George W. Bush style. Get on the plane, we take off, and Tony Snow, who was a press secretary at that point,
Sure.
comes back and he gets me. And I'm like, oh shit, am I going to get reprimanded by someone for doing like a goofy story? Brings me into the Oval Office on the plane, and Bush just looked me in the eye and said, "I heard about your mother, and I wanna hear more about her. Laura
Oh,
and I are
wow.
so
Yeah.
sorry."
Yeah.
It was one of the most meaningful expressions
Yeah.
of sympathy that I've ever
He's that
had from.
way.
Yeah,
He is that way to this day. I mean, he wrote me a dear letter when I retired, and I mean, he's just a terrific guy. Maybe some of his policies I didn't like.
sure.
Uh, Obviously, he got all messed up when it came to Iraq. But uh, I always thought his intentions were honorable.
It's so interesting. I think about your show on Par. It is, in name, a golf show,
Right.
but very little of it has to do with golf. It's
Right.
interviews, it's relationships, it's conversations. With now
Yeah.
that I hear you talk about what you love about golf being the intimacy and the relationships and the conversations, I feel like the show makes total sense.
Yeah, I mean, our, on par means a lot more than just golf. I
Yeah,
mean, you know, do you feel par today? I mean, do you feel good today? I mean,
I think so. Kind of. Yeah.
yeah. That's another thing I like about golf is that it doesn't matter whether you're good or bad. There's a recognition of what you are in relation to par. And
Mm,
so, therefore, you have a handicap. It could be 10, which means your scores will be 10 shots over par, or if you're whatever it is, there's a relationship to the game. So that even if and by the way, this is another great thing. If you're a poor golfer, you can play with a good golfer. It's just fine because you have a handicap, he has a handicap, and you, give him strokes and everything else, you make everything even to start with, except for those people who cheat when it comes to their handicaps,
Yeah, we can't have them
and you
around.
can have fun. You can have fun.
Well, you're winning me over.
Yeah. Oh, do you still play?
No, not at all. And now I'm thinking like
Not
my
good.
not
Not good.
well, so I think about I listened to the first episode of your show with you and your
Right.
wife, the legendary Connie Chung, of course. It was I hope this word lands okay. It was adorable. Like it was the
Yeah.
two of you. I mean, it was just like so lovely. I think part of it was both of you wanting to make sure that people remembered the other's achievements, which was such a kind of a
Yeah.
beautiful
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah, I always,
narrative to see between the two of you play out.
yeah, I mean, it's been kind of, when it comes to, I don't know, a loosely definition of fame. I mean, when I got married, I was just a local anchorman who had kind of traipsed around the country, and at one time I had a 7-year odyssey in which I worked at 7 years I worked at 5 different cities, 5 different stations. In fact, there was a great there's a great reporter, New York Times White House reporter named Richard Reeves, and Richard, wrote also a column for Esquire magazine, and, I was very friendly with Richard, and the title of his column was "My Friend the Anchorman." He says, "I've seen Maury Povich anchor the news in 4 different cities on 4 successive St. Patty's days. This is a guy who's trying to go nationwide, city by city."
You're like an NBA journeyman or something. I mean, like new
Exactly.
team
That's
every
exactly
season.
what I yeah. So then I finally got back to Washington, and finally, after 7 years of on and off dating with Connie, we get married, and, in 1984, and she's this big star at that time at NBC in New York, and I'm the local anchorman in Washington, and I used to come up to New York to see her on the weekends, after we were married, and I tell the doorman downstairs, I said, "I'm here to see my wife, Connie Chung, and my name's Maury Povich." And he calls up and said, "Miss Chung, Mr. Chung is downstairs." And that's the way I've always thought of this marriage 40 years later.
You're Mr. Chung.
I'm Mr. Chung.
Well, there were some hysterical stories in there. I was literally laughing my ass off when,
Yeah.
you talked about some of Connie's relationships when she got to California. I think you
Yeah.
talked about Warren
Yeah.
Beatty as being kind of
Right.
the immigration agent of people who
Exactly.
arrive in California and has
Yeah.
to have to have
It
a
it
relationship with him before you're
yeah.
accepted.
In fact, I can remember, Connie even did this because she was dating Beatty. I kinda knew it, didn't know it, and we were also dating. I mean, it was not an exclusive arrangement, and so my daughters at the time were visiting Connie, in California with me, and Connie tells my daughters, "Look, if the phone rings and it's Warren Beatty, just say Walter's on the phone."
That's
So I think it
that's
probably
great.
happened once or twice.
Yeah, probably happened a few times, but you weren't exclusive yet.
No, no, we were never exclusive, never lived together ever for 7.5 years. The the I guess what we call it, the energy of wanting to get married was like back and forth. I mean, it was like a ping pong game, and, I would ask her, "No, I'm not ready." She would ask me, "No, I'm not ready."
Mm.
And it went back and forth, and finally she calls me up and says, "I think we can get married now." And I said, "Why?" And she says, "'Cause I found a dress."
I li That's a there's so much in that answer. I love that.
And six weeks later, we were married in her apartment in New York with 40 of our relatives and friends, and that was it.
Well, I mean, the thing about you, I think, you're obsessed with golf, and a lot of people know you obviously for the Maury Povich show, but,
Right.
before then, you were obsessed about storytelling and obsessed about being
Oh, yeah.
a very
Oh,
serious
I
journalist,
I
and
I
which I know
I
you still
I
are.
I I I wanted to be Cronkite. I mean, I was just intent on trying to make it big, and it's interesting. I'm sure, David, you have your moments where you covered some great things, and I was because of the age that I lived in. I mean, I was a radio reporter for WWDC Radio, a 5,000 watt radio station in 1963. I'm covering the Martin Luther King march at the memorial, and I'm on the other side of the memorial. I'm believe it or not covering George Lincoln Rockwell, the American Nazi guy, with his 10 demonstrators and 40 cops, and that was my
Hmm,
that was
that was
my
your
that
assignment
was
for the day.
that was my assignment, and all I can do is hear his speech on a loudspeaker. That's the best I could do. And then later that year, I mean, I'm at the then Andrews Air Force Base at midnight, watching Jackie Kennedy come off that plane in that bloodied pink suit
Hmm.
and the coffin coming out the back. And on top of that, we got not that assassination. We have the Martin Luther King assassination. We have the Bobby Kennedy assassination. We have the anti-Vietnam War marches. We have Watergate, all in the space of 10 years in Washington, which were the golden age of news coverage. Wouldn't you think that would be?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you lived
From
it and covered it, but
63
yeah.
from 63 to 74? I mean,
Yeah,
it's
and I mean, a golden age, but some incredibly tragic events, but in terms
yeah,
of the
but
importance of yeah.
as you know, I mean, you 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 look back on the stories you cover and,
Yeah.
what stands out. It was I mean, I just, you know, I I I got I got my experience very young, and you worked in Baltimore, so you'll understand this. I'm working for that 5,000-watt radio station. I could be covering a bank robbery 1 hour. I could be covering a fatal accident the next hour. I could be on Capitol Hill the next hour. I'd be at the White House the next hour. I mean, you had a full f I mean, if you're a local reporter in Washington, D.C., it's like being a national reporter
Yeah.
and a local reporter at the same time.
No, absolutely. When you were having that point in your career, I mean, you were having some amazing conversations too. I mean, you talked about people like Hunter S. Thompson. I mean, you were really
Yeah.
you were
I
finding
mean
some
well, yeah, I did this
luminaries.
show. It was great. People have to understand, we're talking from 1966 until 197 I left in '77. Uh, this is before CNN. This
Mhm.
is before MSNBC. This is before Fox. Basically, there was no kind of Today Show kind of newsy thing in the middle of the day, and I'm working at this station that eventually became a Fox station. We had this show called Panorama, 2 hours a day, and I'm telling you, everybody at the White House, everybody on the Hill, everybody at the federal agencies would watch every day the way they watch now cable news,
And wanted to be
and so
on. Like they
and
see
wanted
they're
to and wanted
watching
to
and
be
it's like I
on,
need that's the place to be. Yeah.
and when Watergate comes, all the great reporters, big name reporters from around the country, Jimmy Breslin, Hunter S. Thompson, they all come. Hun Hunter comes on my show. It's the only time in my life where I allowed somebody to drink on the show. He had a six-pack of beer, and
Oh,
I'm
wow.
telling you, within 15 minutes, that 15-minute segment, he drank the entire six-pack and then and was so smart, never on camera, and it was a live show.
He pounded the whole six pack
Pounded
while he was
all
talking to you.
6.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. You know, I think my version of that is Keith Richards. He's the only person
Oh,
who
wow,
I
it
have
must have been
allowed
great.
he was pounding, I think, like, vodka and orange Fanta, but also
Uh-huh, for
smoking
sure.
into a very expensive microphone, and I remember looking at the engineer, and we had this conversation with no words that I was kinda like, "Are you gonna tell Keith Richards to stop smoking? Because I sure am hell is not gonna
Okay.
I'm not gonna tell Keith Richards to stop smoking,"
Right.
and just kept puffing away, and we had an amazing
Sure.
conversation.
Well, it's amazing because eh, we smoked during every commercial break on set back then in the '60s and '70s. Even when I was doing the news, right? We'd break for a commercial for the after the first segment, put
Oh,
it
I was
back
just a
in.
little late, Maury. If I could have only lived
Oh,
through that era, and I was a little late. I mean, I was still in the shooting bourbon in the newsroom,
oh,
but I
really?
feel like I
Yeah,
missed out,
that was
yeah.
good.
Well, so
But
tell me how I mean, you become best known, as you've referenced as you've been talking about, starting this new show, but for daytime talk,
right,
a little trashy, if I can say it. I mean,
sure,
paternity tests.
sure,
Are you the father?
right,
How did that happen? Like, where did that idea come from, and what decision did you make about where you wanted to take your
right.
career as
So,
someone who is, such a serious journalist,
right.
interviewer, storyteller?
For the first, I'm going to think maybe 7, 8, 9 years that I was doing talk shows, daytime talk shows, it was it was like a Donahue show. It was like Oprah. It was pretty tame. We would go, for instance, we'd go to Waco, Texas when the Branch Davidians were down there. I went to Nashville for a week in the early 1990s to do a week with country music. And then my executive producer came up with this idea of paternity tests. And I'm thinking, "Oh, I don't know." And then I'm thinking, I'm reading these stories and I'm saying, it's just another form of storytelling. I
Mm.
mean, these people are going through all of this drama, all of this conflict, all of these emotions, all of these Shakespearean themes that they're being played out in their lives. And it's really no different than if I was covering a story and trying to be a storyteller. This is a way of telling a story. And the success of it was because you can do something for 12 minutes and there was a result. There was an
Everybody's
end.
waiting to see what
You
the outcome is.
Right, and so therefore, soap operas back then in the 1990s were having the paternity theme, which would be stretched out for 6 months on daytime soaps, and we were giving these results in real time with real people, and so I bought into it, and the only thing that really I think what I really lent to it more than anything else in the beginning was the first time we did it, I was being briefed, and the producer would say, the show producer would say, "And the result is," and I said, "I don't wanna know the result. I don't wanna know any more than my guests, my audience, my live audience, my audience at home. If I knew more than they did, then I would skew the questions. I would know more. I don't wanna know anything more so that when those phrases came out, 'You are the father,' or 'You're not the father,' I'm as surprised as anybody."
Mhm. That was a big
And
part
that
of it, I think,
truth,
and
yeah,
we could
and
be on
so
the
I
journey
could
with
be as
you.
honest as I can, and I think the guests knew that, and I think that's one of the reasons why they felt they were in a safe space.
Mm. Are you okay with the fact that so many Americans were obsessed with you for that kind of reason, and that it's a big part of your legacy?
Yeah, I mean, it is, but, the more, I see people now, who are I mean, today I went for a annual checkup at a hospital. And so I was getting a scan, a normal heart scan or something. And the nurses are going, "Watched you every day. You wouldn't believe it. We watched you. We would cut school. We would tell my parents I was sick." I mean,
Mhm.
it's just, and it's always their relationship to the show. And when they tell you, they're going back and reliving their own lives at the time. Says,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'd cut a class. I would go to McDonald's and watch this." I said, "You mean they had it on?" "Oh, yeah, had it on at McDonald's." I said, "Okay, fine." Quite frankly, I'm just amazed at the, memories people have and how I've never had anybody who've come up to me and criticized me for the show, ever, ever.
That doesn't surprise me.
Does me, because there are a lot of media critics that
Yeah, but I mean,
just
they're gonna whatever. I mean, it's the
and
relationship with the
politicians,
audience
by
that
the way, there were conservative politicians. Joe Lieberman just went on the Today Show. "Oh, that trashy t that Povich down, that's the trash. That show shouldn't be allowed to be on." I mean, okay, Joe, fine.
means you're doing something right, Murray. It means you were doing something
Yeah,
right.
well,
Well, what I'm really interested in. I mean, I've been doing a lot of work to try and save journalism in the part of Pennsylvania where I grew up.
how are you doing it?
It's hard. It is hard. I mean, I've been working with a newspaper where I did my first internship, a public radio station. I love them both so much,
Right.
and but you and Connie own a newspaper
Yeah.
now in
Yeah.
Montana. What? Tell
Yeah,
me
we
about
s
that project. What? When did? How did that come about?
it's called the Flathead Beacon in Northwest Montana, right next to Glacier National Park, called the Flathead Valley, and we opened this newspaper 18 years ago called the Flathead Beacon, a weekly newspaper, and,
Congratulations. That's so
it's won
important.
every single, newspaper award in the state, best investigative reporting, best weekly newspaper, best website, and for 15 years, we had this print edition, but as you know with newspapers, the costs are unbearable, and so now we're online, but it's still I mean, Ernest, we get we put out a daily newsletter of all the stories that have happened that day, and we're up to, like, 10,000 people a day viewing this newsletter.
That's
I mean,
amazing. That's great.
and plus, the paper has its own website, which is unbelievable. And what I love about it, and Montana is a very conservative state. Every politician in the state loves the paper. Everyone, doesn't matter what your stripe is, they all want to come to be interviewed. They understand the reach that we have, and they think that we're as fair and honest as you can be. And I'm telling you, David, I say this when I go out, when I'm speaking at once in a while when I speak, or Connie and I speak. Uh, there is a problem with the national press. We all know it. When I say the press, I mean television, newspapers, you call it radio, doesn't matter. There is a problem.
Yeah.
And the future in trust is local journalism. People believe what they read about their own neighborhoods.
Yeah.
People believe what's happening that day on the news. And so, therefore, if you can get people to trust in local journalism, at some point, I'm hopeful it will fan out and maybe then become regional. And maybe after that, who knows? But local press, local media is trusted in this country, don't you think?
I do. I mean, more than national
Right.
or larger organizations. I mean, I do feel like that and what you're describing is exactly what I hope that so many communities can do. But I just applaud you for I mean, you and Connie for giving it a
Yeah.
shot.
I
And
mean, we're not making any money, but it doesn't matter.
yeah, no,
Doesn't
I mean,
matter.
it's a public service. It's a public good. It's what communities need.
Yeah, and, I'm so proud, and the reporters we have, like, 6 reporters, including the editor-in-chief. The editor-in-chief's name fellow named Kellen Brown, came out of the University of Montana. He was a city editor in Billings, Montana, and he we hired him in his mid-20s, and now he's in his 40s, and he hires all these great young journalists who just wanna cover the news
Hmm.
and with no political stripe or anything like that. They just wanna cover the news and get a good story.
I love that so much. I think you half jokingly said to Connie in when you did your episode of your new show with her, that this podcast is quote all I've got. which, it just hit me. There's so much self-reflection beneath those
Yeah.
words. Like, what
Yeah.
is what how are you feeling these days looking back on your career
Well well,
and
I'll tell you, I'm kind of obsessed with the podcast
Mhm.
because, it it does it really encapsulates everything I've done in my life. I've interviewed news people. I've interviewed sports stars. I've interviewed comics. I've interviewed people who have brought themselves up from nothing, and so therefore, everything that I experienced as a storyteller, I can do on this podcast. And I mean, I can delve into how come this young influencer has 15 million followers on Instagram. I mean, what is
wouldn't
that
we
all?
all like to know
Y
the answer to that question
Yeah,
sometimes?
I mean, and so therefore I can dip my I can dip my toe in all these various aspects of life, and, I mean, it's exhilarating for me. It gets me off the golf course because 'cause I'd be playing golf all the time. I mean, for instance, next week, uh, uh, I'm going to do this podcast with this woman who's become, in late life, this huge comic star, Leanne Morgan. Do you know who she is?
I don't, but I feel like I'm about
Y
to.
Oh, Leanne Morgan is this woman from a small town in Tennessee, and, she's a great comic. She has, her own sitcom on Netflix. She has, her stand-up shows on Netflix and stuff, but she all she does is talk about family life, and it's in this unbelievable Southern accent, and she's just great.
All right, when Mari and I come back in a second, we're gonna have a little lightning round before, I let him go. I'll be right back with Maury Povich. All right, I'm back with the legendary Maury Povich, who has a new podcast on par with Maury Povich. And Maury, I know you have like a lightning round at the end of your show called the
Yeah,
19th hole, right? Where
right,
you actually
yeah,
have some golf involved. There's a little
yeah,
like
I
you have a
mean, we
miniature
have a
golf
little putting
situation in your
green, yeah,
studio, right?
little putting green, and then I get, the guest has a chance to ask me any question they want, and I'll either be truthful or not.
Okay. Well, I'll give you before I ask you a question, I'll let you ask me any question you want to turn the tables. And maybe I'll be truthful.
Where when you went out of, and I guess NPR was your last job or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
was it on your terms or theirs?
Oh, it was on my terms. Good question though. I like that.
You
It
like
was
that?
the yeah, it was the hardest professional decision I ever made. I hosted Morning Edition for almost a decade and was Moscow bureau chief and covered the White House. And I just, I knew that I wanted to have a different chapter and not be at the same place my entire career. And it felt really, it was, Morning Edition. I would wake up in the middle of the night every day to do the
Yeah.
show, which,
And you
took
did
its
that,
toll.
and how long did you do Morning Edition?
Almost a decade, and some from the West
Because
Coast, so I would wake up at midnight.
right. Well, Connie, she for a long time did the show at NBC before, uh, the Today Show, so she had to get up at 1, 2 in the morning, all that
Yeah,
kinda
so
stuff.
she knows what it I mean,
She did
it
she did
takes
it
its
for
toll.
3 years, and she says, and she said Willard Scott had the best line about doing early morning TV or radio. He says, it's like being a prostitute. They pick you up in a car, but you gotta find your own way home."
That's for the record, being in public radio and not network
You
television,
you
I
didn't
didn't
get
get
the
the ride in
car.
either direction, but that's pretty good. Yeah. But that was definitely taking its toll.
Right.
But yeah, it was
So
my own
now
terms.
now being out of the, I don't wanna, whether you wanna call it traditional media,
Yeah.
uh, and I'm sure you don't miss it because of the way it's going.
No.
especially NPR and what's happening there.
I love the
But
place. I love the institution. I
oh, I'm
believe in
sure you
it,
did.
but
Oh,
I don't miss it.
yeah. Uh, do your former colleagues know you anymore, or do they not care about you?
Uh, it's interesting. This is really becoming therapy. My former colleagues, I'm friends with a lot of them, so they absolutely care about me.
They keep up.
They keep up 100%. But there's going from a show that has 14 million listeners a week to trying to, I mean,
Yeah,
to struggling to find your own
right.
projects. You feel a certain, it's just a different feeling. It's you're struggling to feel relevant and important and impactful in the same way. And I own that, but I definitely talk to my therapist about it a lot.
You do.
Yeah,
You have a therapist. Wow.
I do.
You know,
Yeah, highly recommend
I
it.
yeah, I think I messed up.
You got plenty of time, Maury.
I think I messed up.
Yeah, no, you got plenty of time. Well, let me finish with a question to you. I often we explore other obsessions as we close out.
Sure.
What is one obsession in your life that you have only told Connie about and no one else until this moment?
Wow. No, I can't think of any. I'm so transparent. I tell everybody everything.
Well, what's an obsession that maybe most of us don't know about?
I have over the over the last 10 or 12 years, I've really fallen in love with dogs.
Love that. This is a new
I
you
had
were
one
not a dog owner, dog lover growing up.
way, way back, but there was about a 40 to 50-year, absence,
Gap. Okay.
and I didn't think that I could, and then Connie and I got a dog, and we named him Birdie. He's a golden retriever, and he for 12 and a half years, I would be with that dog all the time, and the dog would come to the show and perform for the audience before we taped.
It's great.
I'd throw up a treat, and he'd jump and get it, sit down, do everything, and it was great. And then, uh, he got old, and so Connie says, which is strange, "We have to get another dog." I went, "Wow, wow. I thought this would be it." No. Birdie's getting old, he's g and so we got another golden retriever in the last year of Birdie's life, and I said, "Okay, Connie, we live in Manhattan." I said, "You wanna name it?" She says, "Yeah," and the reason why we named it Birdie was my caretakers in Montana came to me with this dog. I had a couple of scotches in me, and they said, "Here's your new dog." I said, "What dog?" "Well, we heard you might want a dog. Here's your dog." What's the first thing that comes out of my mind? My mouth? Birdies,
Yeah,
because of
'cause you're a
golf,
golf guy.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So now I say to Connie, I said, "So you name this dog." And she says, "I have the perfect name for this dog, Taxi." And so Taxi is our dog. Wait a second. Wait 1 second.
Are you getting Taxi for us?
Taxi, come on, I wanna introduce you to somebody, Taxi. Come here. Come here. Come right over here. Come here. Come here. Sit down. Sit down. Sit down. Sit down. Yeah. Hey,
Taxi,
buddy, meet
Taxi,
Tax.
what's up? Oh,
There
you're
you go, Tax.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, you are
Taxi's a
beautiful.
yeah, darker
Beautiful retriever.
golden retriever that
Oh, yeah, a little darker than usual. Oh, I just
yeah,
wanna hug
she's
Taxi through the
yeah,
screen.
Taxi's great. Oh, yeah. "What you doing? What you doing? What you doing?" We walk every day in the park. In Montana, she's off the leash for 5 months. She runs on the beach in Florida when we go. I mean, she's got a hell of a life.
It's a pretty good life. Where did the name Taxi come from?
Connie, she's a New York dog.
There you go.
Connie said, named it Taxi,
There you
and she's
go.
got a little black and white collar.
I like the old taxis. I love that. Um, Mari, this was really fun.
Oh, it was
I'm
great,
really
Dave.
grateful for the
Terrific.
conversation. Yeah, thank
My
you.
my pleasure. And not only that, uh, my late brother was named David, so
Oh, nice.
it's a dear name. It's a dear
Well,
name.
I appreciate that. I will try in any way I
Great,
can to carry on the legacy.
great. Thanks so much.